Hello, welcome to the Gavel, coming to you from Channels TV studios in Abuja. I am Terry Ikumi. The National Assembly has embarked on a 2-week recess to mark the end of the second session of the 9th Assembly. Meanwhile, lawmakers in the Green Chamber resumed plenary after a 2-week break due to the National Security Summit of the House and the Constitution Review public hearings. Now, the Joint Minority Caucus of the National Assembly issued a statement urging Nigerians to disregard the federal government's ban of Twitter, describing it as illegal. But before that, at the resumption of plenary, the Speaker charged relevant committees of the House to invite the Minister of Information over the legality and circumstances surrounding the Twitter ban. Meanwhile, some members of the People's Democratic Party staged a walkout during plenary after the PDP caucus leader, Mr. Kingsley Chinda, was ruled out of order by the Speaker on the Twitter issue. Here's a detailed report. At the commencement of plenary on Tuesday, 2 pieces of communication from President Muhammadu Buhari were read by the Speaker.
The Harmonized Retirement Age of Teachers in Nigeria Bill 2021 seeks to increase the retirement age of teachers from 60 to 65 and also increase the possible years of service from 35 to 40 years. In compliance with the provisions of Section 18(1) of the Armed Forces Act, Cap A20, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, I hereby forward for confirmation by the House of Representatives the appointment of Major General Farouk Yahaya as the Chief of Army Staff of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
In his welcome address to the lawmakers, the Speaker expressed concern about the pockets of violence springing up across the country.
2 weeks ago, the House of Representatives hosted a special summit on national security to harness the views of citizens and stakeholders, experts from within and outside, to define a new strategy for combating the different manifestations of insecurity in our country. The contributions we received from across the country and the recommendations made therein have already begun to inform legislative action in the House of Representatives. The House will begin consideration of a slate of bills intended to reform our national security statutory framework. We are seeking through legislation to address the issues of overlapping mandates, resulting in interagency rivalry and lack of cooperation among the security agencies. We are seeking to make community policing operational so that communities and the police can work together to protect our people across the country. We intend to change the way the armed forces conduct operations so that the 3 arms of our military can work more effectively together to overcome shared challenges. And we want to change the nature of interactions between the civilian population and the military so that the conflicts that breed resentment and undermine national security can be eliminated once and forevermore.
He then reacted to the Twitter ban by the federal government and the position of the House.
It is in service of our obligations under the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and our moral duty to the Nigerian people that the leadership of the House has mandated from today the House Committees on Communication, Justice, Information and Culture and National Security and Intelligence to immediately commence an investigation to determine, 1, the circumstances of the decision by the federal government of Nigeria to ban the operations of Twitter in Nigeria, and 2, the legal authority for the ban on the operations of Twitter in Nigeria. The committees are additionally mandated to invite the Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, to brief the House of Representatives on the objectives, intent, and duration of the suspension of Twitter in Nigeria, and to report to the House within 10 days.
About an hour later, when it seemed the matter had been addressed and buried, the leader of the PDP caucus raised a point of order, dissatisfied with the earlier position as stated by the Speaker, but he was ruled out of order.
We should urge the executive arm, in the interim, I use the word urge, the executive arm, in the interim, to reverse this order, pending the outcome of our interaction with the executive arm.
Thank you, Honorable Chinda.
Yes, sir.
Let me very quickly, so that we can move along, refer you to Order 9, Rule 1, Sub-Rule 6 of our rules. It shall be out of order to attempt to reconsider any specific question upon which the House has come to a conclusion during the current session, except upon a substantive motion of rescission. The matter has been sent to the relevant committees to investigate and look into the issues that you are talking about, and they will report to us within 10 days. That is what even if we have brought a motion here, we would have referred it to the same committee, and your motion may even have been killed, we don't know. So this way, we have even saved the day. The institution will look into it. In 10 days, we'll know what action to take. And you have not complied with the Order 9, Rule 6. You're ruled out of order.
Mr. Speaker,
please, Chinda, please be guided.
A slight altercation ensued as Mr. Chinda refused to be hushed, resulting in a walkout by some members of the PDP, while some other lawmakers jeered them out.
You know how to come back.
Mr. Speaker, in the circumstance, for PDP members, we have agreed we'll continue.
The next order of the day
Please, Chinda, please, you are a ranking member
is the
of
first
this
reading.
We'll continue to tweet.
Please,
We are
please.
with Nigerians. And if the Attorney General wants to...
Get out if you want to go. Go.
Where is it here? At first, I thought it was a partisan move, but I'm so glad, and I'm happy to see several members of the opposition still here in chambers with us, and I commend you for your non-partisanship.
The PDP lawmakers insist that they will proceed with their earlier threats to take the government to court, and that the Speaker's statement was his position and that of the leadership, not the entire House. Meanwhile, Tuesday's plenary was dominated by security-related matters.
The House notes with serious concern the invasion by suspected armed bandits of Igagan Town, the Barapa North local government area of Oyo State, at the wee hours of Saturday, 5th of June 2021.
The role of government in governance is to protect lives and property of the people and to provide welfare for the people. Mr. Speaker, we have failed woefully. Go to the northeast, north central, northwest, southeast, southwest, south. Our people have been killed. What are we doing in government? It is important we address this, Mr. Speaker. Is it the time when we have fighter jets moving here and there that we will address this issue?
A minute of silence was observed for those who recently lost their lives across the country, and the House approved a motion calling for improved security across schools.
Also knows that since December 2020, hundreds of teachers, students, and pupils have been abducted from schools across the country, further highlighting the troubling development in the country's kidnap for ransom crisis, which has now become a money-making business. Cognizant of the need to deploy modern technology in the provision of basic security measures in our schools, resolves to urge the Federal Ministry of Education to work out appropriate modalities for the provision of basic security and safety measures to protect schools in Nigeria, to mandate the committees of basic education services, tertiary education and services, and legislative compliance to ensure compliance.
On Friday, June 11th, the 9th National Assembly marked its second anniversary. The Senate held a special session on Wednesday before embarking on a 2-week break and scored itself quite high. Take a listen.
When the 9th Assembly commenced, the Senate developed a legislative agenda with focus on the economy, security, constitution amendment, judicial and electoral reforms.
Those in favor of the motion.
At the special session, the Senate President Ahmed Lawan said the upper chamber was on track to fulfilling its legislative agenda.
About 742 bills were introduced during the 2 sessions of the Assembly, of which 58 have been passed. 355 bills have gone through first reading, 175 bills have gone through second reading. One of our most significant interventions in this sector is the restoration of the national annual budget to the January to December cycle.
For a majority of the lawmakers at the special session, the Senate has performed well, but it is still mindful of the problems confronting the country.
Since we came here from day one, we've been confronted with the serious issues of insecurity in this country. And what have we done? we set up a committee headed by the leader of the Senate, and far-reaching resolutions were passed by these chambers that were sent to the executive. The fact that those actions were not taken, or rather the resolution were not implemented, is not our fault.
Statistics don't lie. Mr. President, so far in the last 15 months, Nigeria has reported only about 167,000 cases of COVID-19. This is less than 0.01 of our population. If you compare our country size, we compare our level of health infrastructures and so on, we have been able to do well to contain and maintain this. Yes, it is not good to have even one death, but we could proudly say that based on the various interventions, Nigeria only recorded about 2,117 deaths so far in the last 15 months.
While senators gave themselves a pass mark on their performance, two public analysts were not so generous.
From the evidence, irrefutable evidence before all Nigerians, they have not performed well, because if they have done so, we wouldn't have these killings. If they perform well, we wouldn't have these kidnappings. What statement have they made on the Twitter ban? Absolutely nothing.
Have they passed the electoral bill? They have not. Have they changed the Electoral Act? No. 2 years, they have not been able to do that. What have they been doing? Did they pass the PIB? No.
A federal lawmaker, Senator George Sekibo, aligns with the position of the analysts, maintaining that the Senate has performed abysmally in the last 2 years and there's nothing to celebrate.
In this year alone, so many school students have been abducted. Many of them have not been released. A few may have come out. In this year alone, so many people have been killed. Insecurity everywhere. We will celebrate that we are not able to contain the insecurity. Is that what we will celebrate? What are we celebrating? The mere fact that we are proposing bills is not enough to celebrate. I can talk so many things. The Senate is even derailing. I've been there for 4 years. All of you know that prior to this period, we have our notice paper for 1 full month. 1 full month, you have your notice paper. Now, do you see any notice paper again? Notice paper, either on motions or on business of the Senate. It's not there.
It's 2 more years until the expiration of the 9th Assembly, and in the time left, Nigerians will want to see a Senate be more responsive to the issues troubling citizens, enact important legislations like the Petroleum Industry Bill and Electoral Act, and demonstrate more commitment to legislative business.
I am so sorry for keeping you waiting.
Meanwhile, while the Senate gives the 9th Assembly a pass mark for the past 2 years, staff of the National Assembly, who were employed into the National Assembly service in 2018, are demanding immediate resumption of work within 7 days. The workers made the demand during a protest at the National Assembly, saying they've waited patiently for 3 years to resume. A spokesperson for the group said they were also demanding the payment of 3 years' salary benefits and allowances, as well as full implementation of the National Assembly Service Commission Ad Hoc Committee report on the 2018 recruitment. Meanwhile, the Commissioner Northwest in the National Assembly Service Commission says the Commission is aware of the problem and is looking for a solution.
The needful needs to be done. We've only come here to say, please, we need help. Things are not easy for many of us. How long do we have to wait? It's going to be 3 years next month, and we don't know what we are doing. We are citizens of this country. If some people were called, then we have every right to be called. We don't want issues, we don't want fight, we don't want misunderstanding. We are coming back to work here. That's what it's supposed to be, so how long do we have to wait? All we want is answers.
We have met severally with the management of the National Assembly with a view to resolve the issue. Discussions are still ongoing. The leadership of the National Assembly is also aware of this problem, and we are hopeful that before the end of this quarter, something positive will come up as per their assumption of duty. The Commission has fully documented them. They have appointment letters that were issued by the Commission that are legitimate, they are original, they are authentic. So we are fully aware of the situation.
Welcome back to the Gavel. The House of Representatives has mandated its committees on finance and agriculture to investigate the federal government's disbursement of agricultural loans and credit facilities to farmers from 2009 till date. The House observed that since 2009, 275 billion naira is said to have been disbursed to farmers, yet the country cannot boast of food sufficiency. The House is concerned that most farmers have not been able to access the loans due to stringent procedures by banks. Meanwhile, the House is asking the CBN to review its policies to avoid further depreciation of the naira. Our next report captures it all.
So help me God.
It's Wednesday's plenary session in the House of Representatives. Lawmakers consider a number of investigative motions, one of which is the federal government's agricultural loans and credit facilities to farmers since 2009.
Aware that since the approval, most farmers have not been able to access the loans due to stringent requirements being demanded by banks from prospective borrowers and the alleged siphoning of over 105 billion naira meant for farmers by management of the NISAL. Concerned that food production has not attained the expected level despite the approval of the over 275 billion naira facility to farmers. Worried that the projected diversification of the economy from oil production to agricultural production and increase in agricultural output, food supply, and promoting low food inflation will not be achieved if farmers are unable to access loans meant to increase agricultural production.
The House also considers a matter of urgent public importance on the need for the Central Bank of Nigeria to urgently put in place monetary policies to stop the free fall of the naira. Meanwhile, a Senate bill for an act to amend the Asset Management Corporation of Nigeria Act is stepped down by the House after members questioned the clause which allows banks to recover loans by taking over properties traced to debtors, whether or not such asset or property was used as collateral for the loan.
The second reading of this bill, there were observations made by members as to the fact that if you use a property to secure a loan with your bank, this new bill empowers the commission to go after any other property that you have that was not initially part of the agreement. And I think that this issue was raised, and we need to know what has been done before we concur.
Mr. Speaker, I also believe that some of the concerns raised here are germane and genuine. So in order for us not to throw the baby along with the bathwater, I, as mover for the second reading of this bill, would like to step down this bill and interface more with the Senate so that we can be able to really tidy up some of those gray areas that are genuinely raised by our colleagues here, so that we now take the right shapes out of the bad ones and we get the bill passed at an appropriate time.
The bill was passed by the Senate in April, despite disagreements on the same recovery clause by senators. Security matters still dominated conversations among lawmakers in the past week. Here's a look at some of them, as well as other motions and activities of federal lawmakers.
The Senate's chief whip and former governor of Abia State, Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, is calling for restraint from perpetrators of insecurity in the southeast. Speaking in an interview with Channels Television, Senator Uzor Kalu notes that insecurity in the southeast region is strange, revealing that Igbos are not known for burning homes to punish enemies. He also condemns the extrajudicial killings of young people in the southeast and says he is alarmed by the ethnic profiling of Igbos in the country.
I can really not say what is responsible. Our people are not known to be burning houses or burning instruments. It's baffling to me. I've tried to gather my own intelligence. I tried to gather from the ground, and it's baffling to see that no particular person is taking credit for all these things. I've asked directly the boys I know that might be doing IPOP, they say they are not the one doing it. So I'm surprised. And I told the Inspector General of Police that they should do in charge of First CID, Chief Joseph Ebunike, that they should do more to do. And from the event of things, it seems they are late. But I'm only calling on the voice, whether it's anybody, whether it's foreign people, local people, independent people, doing those kind of things in our region to stop.
In the Green Chamber, lawmakers considered a motion on the urgent need to deploy additional security to Kebbi State to address the rising insecurity in certain parts of the state.
Further note that considering the current rise in security challenges in Donkosagu and Sakaba local government areas, and indeed across the country, it is apt to state that the government has not done enough to secure the lives and properties of the good people of the local government areas to enable them to go about their everyday life. Resolves to urge this Honorable House to urgently, 1. Call on the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces to direct all law enforcement agencies to embark on a massive recruitment drive to boost the numbers of law enforcement agents in the current onslaught against banditry, terrorism, and separatists across various fronts in the country.
A bill to give legal backing to state security outfits to complement the Nigeria police force has scaled second reading in the House of Representatives. Sponsor of the bill, Representative Anthony Affair, says it has become necessary to amend the Constitution to allow for state security outfits which will address the security situation in the country.
Some of the provisions sought to be injected into the Nigerian Constitution as amended by way of amendment are clear provisions seeking to provide legal backing for the creation of state security outreach as a way of complementing the Nigerian police force. The rampant and widespread violence crime in every nook and cranny of the country has no doubt overwhelmed the Nigerian police as presently structured both in personnel capacity as well modus operandi. We cannot live in denial of the fact that our security challenge must be tackled in the best template that promotes nationhood, that respectfully fair on elected members of the National Assembly to exploit the legitimate lawmaking framework to work out a solution that is in tandem with democratic tenets.
The House of Representatives is asking security agencies to deploy drones and helicopters in the crisis-prone areas of Niger State to identify illegal camps of bandits in order to defeat them permanently. This is part of resolutions reached following a motion of urgent national importance on the need to secure the release of 136 abducted school children from Tejina in Rafi local government and rejig the security architecture to curb the worsening insecurity in Niger State. The motion was sponsored by Representative Saidu Abdullahi and 10 other members. The House of Representatives is urging the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development to collaborate with relevant agencies of government to ensure that all orphanage centers in the country are duly registered and certified safe for children. This is sequel to a motion to address alleged incessant abuse of orphanage centers in the country. Representatives James Owolabi, who moved the motion, expressed concern that the unregistered orphanage centers are involved in illegal operations such as child trafficking and nocturnal abuse of the orphans.
Concerned that the unregistered orphanage centers are involved in illegal operations such as child trafficking and nocturnal abuse of the orphans. Resolved, 1. Urge the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development to collaborate with relevant agencies of government to ensure that all orphanage centers are registered, as well as ascertain the safety of the children in their centers.
The House of Representatives is asking the federal government to adhere to the provisions of the Niger Delta Development Commission Act by constituting a governing board for the commission. This call was sequel to a unanimous adoption of a motion by Representative Kolade Akinjo at plenary on Thursday. According to him, great injustice characterized the composition of the Commission's board as regards the offices of the chairman, managing director, and 2 executive directors.
Well, that's it on the Gavel this week. Thanks for watching. I'm Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.